The propaganda interview Donald Trump just did with the New York Post was honestly one of the worst interviews I have ever watched. And here is what makes it so remarkable. The host, Miranda Devine, did not ask Donald Trump a single real or challenging question throughout the entire thing. Not one. And yet, despite doing everything possible to protect him and make him look good, she still accidentally managed to show the world exactly who Donald Trump really is right now. Weak, physically deteriorating, mentally declining. And you can see it clearly.
His eyes are swollen.
His hands are swollen. His speech is slurring. But beyond the physical signs, he is simply losing his grip on reality, rambling about his visit to Walter Reed, the fact that he has not been seen in public for nearly a week, and how deeply upset he is over his birthday celebration that is falling apart. We are going to get into all of it.
No,
You just had your health thing and you're 14 years younger, cardiac health and cognitive
Yeah,
health.
they said I'm very healthy.
Yeah.
I do physicals because I think I have an obligation to do it. But I just came out with very, very good results. And I took a test, a cognitive test, and I got 100% on it. As the expression goes, I aced it.
Yeah.
And the doctors told me it's very, very few people can ace that. It's actually a tough test. You know, once you get past the first half of the questions, those questions get difficult.
Is it a memory? What is it that, have you got a good memory?
I have a great memory. Look, so far so good.
Yeah.
I hope I'm going to keep it that way.
Yeah.
And I want to say again, this is genuinely one of the worst interviews I have ever seen in my life. But it starts with Donald Trump doing what he always does when something is wrong, bragging about his health. And that bragging is perhaps the clearest sign of all that something is very much not right. So Donald Trump says he keeps going to the doctor, visiting more frequently than any normal person would because he owes it to the American people. He owes it to us, he says. And yet he does not owe us the release of any real medical information. He does not owe us explanations for the specific tests he is taking. He does not owe us any answers about why he has been completely out of public view for 7 straight days. And apparently he does not owe us any explanation for the bruising on his hands, the swelling under his eye, or the visible puffiness that is straining against his shoes. None of that information is something we are entitled to, according to him. Of course not, because Donald Trump does not want us knowing the truth. He does not want the American public to see just how weak and unwell he actually is right now. And that weakness was actually brought up during the interview, not because the host had the courage to challenge him on it, but because she was attempting to set him up with a soft, friendly question.
What do you say to people who claim that Bibi Netanyahu tricked you into going into Iran?
Well, they're just, the enemy. They're just, the Democrats, DUM. These are Democrats. These are people that don't know what they're doing. They want men playing in women's sports, and they want open borders so the world can pour into our country, and they want transgender for everybody, surgery, and they want transgender mutilization of our children. No, these are just words. That's all they do. It's all they're good for is words. Like, I heard that the other day for the first time. I said, he tricked me. I mean, I'm the one that started it because, again, I don't want to bore anybody, but I started because we can't let them have a nuclear weapon. Now, that pertains to Israel because they probably would have been the first one to get hit. There would be no Israel. Tell you what, if there wasn't me, there would be no Israel right now. And it started off as when I terminated the horrible Barack Hussein Obama, the Iran nuclear deal that he penned. And that would have given Iran that was a road to a nuclear weapon, and I terminated it, which was lucky I did. And then I stopped it a second time with the B-2 bombers flying in and bombing the hell out of them. They would have had a nuclear weapon if I didn't do that attack, which, very few people would have done it. If I didn't do that attack, Iran would have had a nuclear weapon and they would have used it almost immediately.
Yeah. And
the topic was Netanyahu using Trump's ego and lack of judgment against him, essentially tricking him into the Iran war. And I want to point to that as the perfect lead-in to the moment that followed the question Donald Trump was asked about his upcoming birthday. Because that is where his deteriorating mental state was put fully on display for everyone to see. He completely fell apart, and his broken thought process was impossible to miss. Of course, Netanyahu was able to manipulate Donald Trump into going to war. I think that is something virtually everyone now recognizes as the truth. It is what Marco Rubio effectively admitted. It is what Pete Hegseth let slip. All of them have made it clear one way or another. And Netanyahu loves telling people that. He loves dropping hints that J.D. Vance answers to him. He loves making it known that Donald Trump is essentially under his influence. That is exactly why that supposed leaked phone call came out, the one where Trump was supposedly grilling Netanyahu and pushing back hard.
That you were going to do.
Yeah. You know
all
what I
those
did with that?
musicians have fallen.
Yeah.
They're cowards. aren't
People
they?
like, no, it's not that. They get some free publicity. Look, they're not really cowards, but I never even heard of these people.
Right.
I never heard of any of them. They're boring. I don't even want them. And when I heard a couple of them canceled out, I said, cancel the whole thing. I don't want to, we're going to do a rally.
Yeah.
And a rally, nobody's ever gotten crowds like I get at a rally. I had 118,000 people at one. I have 25,000. 25,000 is like a small crowd. Okay?
And your music's great.
And the only reason I only have 25 is because we have the basketball arenas. And
Right.
like at Madison Square Garden, I went to Madison Square Garden. Jim Dolan's the owner. He's a good guy too. And he said he's never, ever had a crowd like, so the place was packed and the crowds went down to the Hudson River and down past Fifth Avenue.
I was there. It was incredible.
They could have sold that out, Miranda, 10 different times. He said, I've never seen anything like it. So we're going to have a rally. I don't want the music. I don't even know who they are. I don't know their music. I don't want to know their music. But no, a couple of them said, we don't want anything that's partisan. I said, that's okay. Go someplace else. Yeah. And we're not looking to be partisan. We're celebrating the country. But we're going to do a rally, a great, beautiful rally to 250 years. And it's going to be great. And I think we'll get much bigger crowds. I mean, I'm not looking to work. You know, got myself a good job.
That's right. I thought you'd be a bit busy.
But I do get the largest rallies in the history of politics by maybe 10 times.
That was the most obviously staged and planned leak in recent memory. And why? Because Trump desperately needs to be seen as strong. Because strength is the one thing he is not anymore. Donald Trump is weak. Donald Trump is in decline. We can see it in the near total absence of public appearances. We can see it in the visible swelling in his face. And we can see it in his complete emotional meltdown over the fact that people are not showing up to his birthday party. And the host of this interview, she actually tried to comfort him about it. She tried to console the President of the United States about his birthday party attendance. And even with that level of gentle handling, Donald Trump still lost it completely. It is genuinely remarkable and deeply troubling that the President of the United States is sitting down for an interview with an absolute non-journalist the very day after Scott Pelley was fired for standing up to this administration and pushing back against Bari Weiss's dismantling of 60 Minutes. And instead of facing a single tough question, the President of the United States is having his hand held by someone whose main job in this interview appears to be consoling him about the fact that people do not want to attend his big birthday celebration. And even with all of that soft protective handling, Donald Trump is still visibly rattled, saying things like, well, quite frankly, they were not even that impressive anyway, and I already have everyone around me, and everyone loves me, so it does not matter.
No, it was a great, I'll tell you, 2024 was a great election. That was a lot, there's a lot of rigging going on there too. Because you know what, I won in a landslide, but there were areas that were just rigged. I could see it.
So
rigged. In other words, rigged against me.
Yeah, of course. Of course. The anti-weaponization fund, have you dropped that?
No, a court ruled against it.
Yeah.
But just so you understand, these are people that have been decimated. These are people that lost their lives over nonsense, where the FBI said, go in, police, go into the, and they were supposed to serve 5 years, 10 years in jail. People committed suicide.
He is clearly losing his mind over the fact that nobody wants to show up to his party. That much is obvious. And the reports surrounding the UFC event Donald Trump is putting together at the White House are getting worse by the day. It is not just that he is apparently demanding attendees meet a certain physical appearance standard, essentially wanting a room full of people who look a specific way. It is that Pete Hegseth is reportedly out there actively recruiting people who fit the specific demographic Trump wants in the room because Trump knows the place might end up half empty. It very well could be. Donald Trump could be about to trash the White House once again for yet another humiliating and very public failure. Just think about how deeply sad and weak that is. But that is Donald Trump. That is who he is. And his weakness is also on full display in the fact that he is still relitigating the 2020 election. And in this interview, he actually put forward a brand new theory about January 6th that tells you everything you need to know about just how far his thinking has deteriorated. How exactly is January 6th an inside job if Donald Trump was the president of the United States on January 6th? Are we being serious right now? And speaking of people who have absolutely no business being anywhere near power, I saw Katie Miller, one of the most intellectually challenged people in American politics.
And whether we like it or not, that is a big indicator of where we got people, 401ks are all high. They're all setting records.
What about people who don't have 401ks and they're worried about gas or groceries? We hear about that
I
a lot.
inherited very high prices when I came in. I inherited the highest inflation in the history of our country. You know, Biden had like 9-10% inflation. And I inherited that. And we have it way down. And then I said, I did have to say, we have to do something about Iran, because regardless of how well we're doing, we can't let them have a nuclear weapon. And they've already agreed they're not going to have a nuclear weapon.
Have they?
Oh, yeah, they've agreed to that. I mean, now they can change their mind, but that was one of the things they had to agree. They've agreed to that. That was the big thing.
How do you know the people you're talking to there are actually the people
posting a tweet claiming that if you type into ChatGPT, "Is Charlie Kirk still alive?" it responds by saying, yes, Charlie Kirk is still alive. First of all, AI chatbots are at this point more likely than not to give you an incorrect answer when asked something like that. So that alone is not even remotely surprising. But beyond that, other people quickly pointed out that the screenshot she was sharing was fabricated. It was not a real response. If you actually ask an AI chatbot whether Charlie Kirk is alive, it will tell you he is not. But Katie Miller ran with it anyway, turning it into some kind of conspiracy about AI covering things up. All of this is to say these are the people currently running the country. Donald Trump was in power on January 6th. Katie Miller was in his orbit. Stephen Miller was in his orbit. Donald Trump and all of Charlie Kirk's so-called friends in high places, yes, these people were all in power when he died.
Well, one thing is working out well. You know, Venezuela was a big success. Iran's a big success. Where do you see? I mean, that'll be a big success. We've essentially defeated the military. We'll see what happens. We're working on a deal. And if that happens, fine. If it doesn't happen, that's okay too. We'll do it the other way. But the economy is unbelievable. We just hit another stock market high today, all-time high, 71 times. In the short period that I've been here for the second term, 71 times we've been at a new high.
So if there is some grand conspiracy here, how are you not part of it? How are you not aware of it? You were the ones in charge. These people are so desperate to paint themselves as victims that they have somehow managed to become victims of the very system they are currently controlling. They are the deep state. They hold all the power, and yet they whine and complain like they are being persecuted every single day, which is exactly what Donald Trump did when he was asked about his failing economy. Yes. You inherited it, Donald. Of course you did. The only things Donald Trump has ever inherited in his entire life are two back-to-back booming economies, growing, thriving, the envy of the entire world, and millions upon millions of dollars handed to him directly by his father. That is Donald Trump's inheritance. Consistently positive economic conditions. An almost impossible to mess up starting position. Enormous amounts of money dropped right into his lap. And what did he manage to do with all of it? Bankrupt himself. Over and over again. And now he is doing the same thing to the country. Taking a massive pile of money and a strong foundation and then running it straight into the ground. That is the defining story of Donald Trump's life, both in business and in politics. He has done it again. He is always doing it again. And now, on top of claiming he inherited a bad economy, he is also out here saying it is unbelievable despite the fact that his own war is the thing actively destroying it. Moronic. Absolutely moronic. That is what this presidency is. That is what that interview was. I am genuinely stunned, though, honestly. I always am with this man. But here is the thing, we are going to keep calling it out. That is what we do on this show. Every single day, without stopping. If you want to support that work, as always, hit that subscribe button and leave a like on this video. If you made it all the way to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. And if you want to support the show in another way, come follow me on Instagram at JD or follow the show over on Spotify. It is the Jack Catarella Show. And please leave a 5-star review while you are there. The MAGA crowd is always leaving 0 stars, so every 5-star review genuinely goes a long way. Keep on fighting, everyone. Do not let them silence you. And until next time, I'll see you then.